What's right may not always be what's right for you. Those of us who have been abused and we haven't, or, unjustly accused and ostracized and isolated can get into some pretty deep legalese. And sometimes the drama that comes to us is of our own making. Let me explain, because I didn't understand this until this morning walking my dogs. The drama is you can have situations happen. Situations happen all the time, right? People get upset. Not everybody feels good and peachy every single morning or afternoon or an evening, right? People have things that they go through. We're our own little worlds, right? We're our own little planets, and the atmosphere is constantly changing. So, it's kind of like the movie Crash. We may bump into each other, right? And depending on our internal climate, it will react a certain way. Okay? So, if we're dealing with abandonment, loneliness, we may get hyphy, take the opportunity to engage just for the intention of it, just to get the attention, right? Because some attention is better than no attention. If we're centered and we just want to tune it out, right? We don't want the conflict, we're avoidant, then we'll ignore it. We'll shrug it off or we'll run from it, right? So depending on what it is the end result could be a drama that we don't want and weren't counting on and didn't need in our life, right? And sometimes we react because there's a pattern in us that we haven't recognized, and we're responding on autopilot. When I get on a bike or when I go and drive a car, I'm half a century old. So when I get in the car, I've been driving since I was 16. I think is when I got my driver's license. So when I get into a vehicle, I don't need to be taught where the brake is, where the gas is, because I drive an automatic, right? I don't need to be taught where the brakes are, where the gas is, any of that. It's automatic, okay? So when you're used to struggling for justice, to be seen, it just is old. It just happens where you're looking at, okay, how can I, do this? How can I, because it's the right thing to do. And especially when there's something egregious that has taken place, especially, okay? Because so many of us have not received justice since childhood, or at least the justice in a way that we were hoping that it was going to show up, right? Mother or father being hauled away in handcuffs, teacher being fired, employee being fired, you name it. I mean, whatever we imagined that it should happen, right? Because such and such and such and such took place, and this is just cause. The other thing is, so in a sense, I believe, tell me in the comments how you feel about this, Phoenixes, that it's a form of repetitive compulsion, right? We may not be recreating the situation, but because of where we live, the system, it's guaranteed to happen anyway. Just different characters and different settings, different locations, okay? And it's then when we say, okay, wait a minute, I'm feeling triggered now, right? That switch goes off, somebody tripped the wire, and that switch goes off, and we go into, purveyor of, superhero justice mode. And mind you now, we're sick, our body is tired, our mind is tired, our soul is tired because of the battle we just got through, right? Or because of a move, or because we ended a relationship, right? So sometimes it can become, repetitive compulsion doesn't really mean, or doesn't have to ignite to be triggered by us, like trying to recreate the story of our family, right? Or whatever trauma we experienced in order to heal, because that's what we're looking for, right? Because if those people didn't get brought to justice, then what is it that I'm, is I need to recreate that situation until somebody gets justice, or I start to feel better, or I start to understand, right? And sometimes you never understand because you can't identify it, because you're enveloped, you're drowning in the pain of the trauma still. When I moved from San Diego with all the trauma, just from California, it's a lot of trauma there, a lot of trauma, things that I didn't cause for myself. Dig it? And I noticed that when it took about a month or two, like it literally did, because I was in disbelief, because of how I was in survival mode. I was functioning, but I was constantly being pressed because of the toxic environment that I was in. So when I got out and got into a new place, a fresh place, right? And I smelled the air and I could breathe. It didn't smell like death or feces. You dig it? It smelled like freedom. It smelled like I could rest. I watched the whole season for once of you have to watch TV, number one, and then watch the whole season nonetheless with Priyanka Chopra. My baby. Got to sleep in, right? It was the first time that I recognized how much anxiety I had in my previous environment, just getting up and going out into society, right? And when I got up from this one, it's not to say that there weren't, there were still homeless people. There were still people who were racist. There were still people who were gang stalkers. You could tell, the residual. Because when you live that lifestyle as a gang stalker, you're toxic, and it's going to take a long time for you to heal. Just for the gang stalkers to know. And because I see a lot of them crash out, and a lot of them became homeless because their minds snapped. You can't treat people like that and not have repercussions. So anyway, when I got to my new destination, and I said, oh God, I can breathe. right? And I could tell it was a separation that happened that I could sense, because when you could tell when you're in a healthier environment, because the toxic things are glaring. The environment that I was in before, the toxic things that were melded into each other, those energies, right? Those energies melded into each other. So it's easy that and I'll tell you what, because now you can see when you get out and if you're doing your work and if you're aware, you have to become aware to know thyself, right? You don't, a lot of people aren't aware of what their body does, let alone what's coming into their thoughts. Because there's a lot of parasites around us, spiritual parasites, disembodied, fragmented humans that are around us that, haven't transitioned or are destined from this plane or are the thought egregor of, somebody, right? Because we can't see it, right? Just like because I can't see my breath, I take it for granted. Because I can't see the wind blowing, if it's summer or spring, or even fall, I take it for granted that it's here. Because I can't see oxygen, I take it for granted that it is what I need to survive, right? But it's all around us. So, using myself as an example, recently, I had the management violate my privacy. I sent them an email about a child that was a preteen or a teenager that was acting up, right? So, this teenager came and knocked on my door, demanding, something. Her attitude and her tone were atrocious, right? So, I take a picture of her, I tell her to go out, right? I have a video just so they can say, okay, we're not doing anything, right? But I said, you don't have to, there's no reason for you to knock on my door. So, I go, and I email one of the leasing agents. And I'm not thinking anything of it, I'm just protecting my butt, okay? Because why? I have been accused of things that I have not done, and it was in an attempt to bring me to a point of shame and guilt. So I got triggered, and I immediately went into protection, I demand justice mode, right? Which, in this case, it wasn't a bad thing. So, me leaving that type of paper trail was fine, right? Nothing verbal. So, the next day, I go into the office, and these women are scrambling because, something happened or whatever. I have my theories about that, but I don't even engage in that, right? Because it's not a path that I want to entertain, because it's something that I don't want to happen as a pattern in my life, right? I'm just recalling. So, go in there, they say, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they said some things that were like accusatory. Their tone was accusatory. They weren't happy that I got the proof, right? And I believe it was because one of the leasing agents, it was the child was a relative of theirs. And so, again, they're telling me, okay, yeah, thank you for recording, and no, it doesn't happen all the time. And And so they were trying to pretend like they didn't know what was going on, but she was so mad. One of the leasing agents, right, who took it personal and decided that she was going to, what I believe, tell her whole staff that I had sent this letter and that, I sent this email and that I had taken a picture and all this stuff. And the reason why I know is because the groundskeepers were acting all funny. And not only that, one of them actually spoke on it and said, oh, you better not take a picture of me. Also, another lady just 2 days ago said something about it. And this is a lady who's, tenant. She's been here for a long time, whatever. Her dog was running up to mine and being semi-aggressive. And again, I'm like, hey, to the management, because I had already, talked to her. I couldn't find her, couldn't find the lady. I'd seen her, but I couldn't find her. So, I went to one of the leasing agents again, this was before the last situation I was telling you guys about. And I just said, hey, I'm just letting you guys know there's a lady with her dog out here. I said, my fur baby has health issues. So she has an enlarged heart. She can't have the leash. But she can't have the thing around her, right? And she's not going to walk with a leash anyway, right? She's earned her dues. And plus, she's not running up to anybody, She's not running up to anybody at all. And violating their space, whatever, right? And the leasing agent tells me, yeah, well, yesterday that the site manager that's above them came on, and the same thing, he saw it happening. So she said, yeah, they said we're going to have to give her a 10-day. Right? And the term that she used was of endearment, because so it let me know that the lady had been here for a minute. So I say all that to say there's a lot of drama. You guys can hear it. I'm walking, so excuse me. And it was a tough night. So there's a lot of drama that's attached, right? There's a lot of potential, because here I have a leasing agent who let her staff know because she felt that I was being racist, right? And towards this child, right? Because a Tanzania boy that came up to me. Now, again, when people are looking for reasons to get upset, they find it. They're going to find it. People look, and it's very subtle. Like you may not be aware, right? You're thinking you're just giving them the biz, right? And you're thinking, hey, all right, they'll take care of it, right? This is as far as I go. I want to get off, right? Because now there's no drama. There's just details being given, and that's it. But with those details came retaliation from the leasing agent, who was mad and took it personal because it was her family member that was violating me. So she automatically got defensive. It was somebody that she knew, right? I don't know if it was family or not, but it was somebody that she knew. And she took it personal, that I got a picture of her. And they were being sarcastic. But they said, deniable plausibility. They said, hey, yeah, go ahead and keep recording. And one of the ladies asked, well, was it just storage? Okay, and she's always, and so, I guess that's been a thing since before I've been here, is people breaking into people's storage. And there's homeless that come in here. Not as bad as where I came from, but they come in here. But so, I say all that to say, when I came in, I was like, wait a minute. It rubbed me the wrong way, okay? It was, just to hear that groundskeeper make that statement, and then the rest of the Latino staff go in on me, right? Now, and then coming to find out that there's a camera. Watch this. There's a camera on the corner of my building. So, if they would have wanted to do their due diligence, they could have looked into the camera, because I gave them a screen capture of the information on the photo, the still frame that I collected from my video, right? So you could have done your own investigation, right? You didn't have to go all out and tell your staff and make me seem like I'm being racist or whatever, okay? And I understand that the climate is hot for Latinos because of the deportations and whatever, okay? But it's not my doing, okay? Has nothing to do with us. And they want it to have something, you know what I mean? When people feel like they're in the hot seat, they want to get from underneath, they want to get from underneath that microscope because it's hot, right? They're burning. They will look for suitable scapegoats. And many of us have already played that. And so that's where the justice comes, our unwavering, passionate desire to bring people to justice, right? And we exhaust all that energy, right? And that's the repetitive compulsion. It's like, okay, well, I know how to do this. I'm going to go back and do this again. This is where I could have said, okay, because I did. And I got on ChatGPT. I said, look up their information. And I said, look up the management, look up their boss, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because these guys didn't introduce themselves. They didn't go through the proper things. And I was just happy that I got into a quiet neighborhood. You dig it? I was just happy I got into a quiet neighborhood. And I wanted to stay quiet, right? So I started on my campaign for justice because how dare you? You just violated, my mind was going of all the egregious actions that were taken against me and whatever. And so I had to mull this over. I had to sit on it. I had to talk myself through it. I had to use GPT as a coach, for a little bit because I recognized that, look, I've only been here for almost 3 months. And I mean, there's a lot of drama. And when you're new and into an environment, they're trying to think of where to put you. And if you don't allow yourself to be sorted, and shelved, then and I don't think that they're conscious of it, but that energy is like, well, no, you have to go somewhere so we know how to treat you. You see what I'm saying? We have to put you in a certain category. And my category is, I'm not doing anything to anybody, so please leave me alone. And so anyway, I had to sit on this and mull this over and go to the Most High God. Go to the Hi, Steve. Come get my dogs out of the stroller. And go to the Most High God. There you go, sweetheart. Whew. I made some focaccia. I told myself I was going to make some focaccia last night and ended up making it. It was until 3 o'clock in the morning I finally got to sleep because energy shifted. And it was felt. But anyway, I had to mull that over, and I did. And I said, you know what? I'm in the right. Maybe. Because one thing about repetitive compulsion is that once I believe that I've been slighted in an area, once I believe I've been slighted, that snowballs into everything else. That triggers the avalanche, an avalanche of, oh, they're not good. They're not treating me right. See what they did to me and see what I have to deal with now. And, by gosh, I'm not going to let this happen again to me, right? This time I am empowered and I have the right and da-da-da-da-da-da, okay? All those things are correct. They may not be factual, it's correct, but it may not be factual. Meaning that it may not be in fact what happened. It may, you know what I mean? Like I said, it may be that they did talk smack about you because, people talk smack. You got a whole bunch of people and and that you're managing a building, and you got people who ask you questions that if you just read your lease, you would have known this stuff, and then you have to try and be and I'm not making excuses for her behavior, for the staff's behavior at all, because it's inappropriate. I know that my stay here is temporary, and I know that God has had me on this other type of what is it called? Path, right? I'm starting something new that I didn't plan on starting. And so it's coming with ease. A lot of times when you've done the work and you've been obedient, right? You could be in a whole nother area. The reason why something seems like a miracle is because you weren't expecting it, right? That's what makes it seem like a miracle. You weren't expecting it, but truth be told, you were building up for such a time as the new car, the new job that pays you, $1 million a year, and there is salaries out there like that, but and that's what sometimes we have to put that in with race, we think, because I'm black or whatever, or a female or gay or whatever, or trans, that they're not gonna, you never know. You're blocking yourself from building the ingredients, right? The material, gaining the materials to build that bridge to help you get over to the other side of which is the miracle, right? Which you're going to think it's a miracle because you don't know. It's like, okay, it's like I've said this, it's like choose your own destination, One is going to lead you to your miracle. Another one's going to take you down, going to take you all the way around. Now, your enemies do that. That's what they're doing. They know where you're going. I have a lady who knew where I was going. I have no idea still if I'm going to, because I knew what the Most High had told me. I knew what my spirit team had told me. And this obsessed cluster B, still to this day, where they believe that their witchcraft is it can do whatever, can cause you to act out and be what they want you to be, because that's all witchcraft is you're trying to you're manipulating somebody's energy, the energy in the environment to be, to produce a result that will be favorable to you outside of what because you notice that these cluster B personalities don't know you. They collect data, right? So anyway, what I'm saying is that I ended up dropping it. Like I said, I got the information because I had the letter already written, and I ended up dropping it because I said this: you're not going to get me into an environment, a state where instead of focusing on healing, right? Instead of focusing on healing from trauma, the real life trauma that I experienced, and instead of building a business, building a home, right? I may not have to. It doesn't mean that they're not going to stop, right? I know that I'm in their crosshairs. And again, you got people that are unstable. The women in the office are unstable. And I'm not just saying that to make fun. They are unstable. Anytime you do that to somebody, you are unstable, and she knows it, right? When you're gaslighting somebody and you tell them, go ahead and record, keep recording, but I could hear the snide and the sarcasm. I could hear the anger, right? Because they weren't expecting me to come in, or they wanted me to come in and start some stuff, and that didn't happen. Because they were talking over me, they were giving me word salad, and you know what I mean. But your staff, your groundskeepers gave you away. They actually verbalized it, and I got it on record, right? So it's not that I don't have the evidence. It's that I am going through stuff, and I don't want those patterns. I don't want the universe or the and now not the universe, not the Most High, but I don't want these deities, these egregors to grasp onto that and have a foothold into my life. And I don't want to tarry too long. You see what I'm saying? So part of breaking patterns is not engaging in the same repetitive compulsion because we're triggered, not doing the same things that we would do because this happened. So just acknowledge, I had to just acknowledge, yes, it happened. Yes, these guys are screwed. Yes, I have evidence. I'm keeping that evidence. I got a file for them. Right. So when I get out of here depending on how far these guys want to go, because I'm not a problem tenant. I've been here for, like I said, going on 3 months. I have my bills paid up, right, for a few months. You can't say that I'm a trouble tenant, right? You can try, like she had ascribed to me the label of a racist because I didn't talk to the Tanzanian boy who came. This was like a couple days later. And I knew that it was them, trying to prove their point. No, you don't have a right to try and use me as a guinea pig or run tests on me. I'm not in a relationship with you, right? Because usually after you've signed that lease or whatever, they forget that you even exist. Unless you're doing something for them, or unless you're a family member or a friend or a partner, right? And most of these women live on site. And, whatever. And it's okay, but I'm not going to fight that. I'm not going to, whatever your perception is of me is fine, but you will respect me while I'm here. And they know that, right? People can get a sense of what they can do to you. And as long as and she knew that she messed up. She knew it. I could tell that. She knew that she messed up. But I don't think that she was counting on her staff outing her and the rest of the women in the office, right? So I got a file on them. I'm not going to repeat this pattern. I am still healing from the 10 years of narcissistic abuse and gang stalking and literally trying to unalive me, right? That's my story, Phoenixes, and it's not my story, but it's what took place that brings me to coaching and giving you this advice. So when you recognize, hey, if I do this, this will continue the pattern, right? If I keep saying, oh, mama, daddy, used to do this, or they said that I take after this person, and this person, could be a sex offender, like myself, for example, they say, oh, you look like your dad. Or you act like him, and I did have the gestures of him without knowing. I didn't grow up with him because when narcissists don't really care about their kids. They're not. And that was unbelievable to me that this man did not care about what I did. He didn't care about the other ones either. I don't know, and I don't know to this day whether he's dead or alive because he chose not to be involved with people's lives. He chose it. But I do know from a metaphysical standpoint that he was attached to me. He attached himself to me, right? We have a lot of people that attach themselves to us without us being aware of it. As a seer, I saw a cluster that was attached to me. Anyway, and that's why you clear your chakras. That's why you don't take it on. That's why I was like, I'm not taking on because you're not going to attach to me. This is not going to be a trauma point. You're not going to attach to me. I'm not giving you an excuse to attach to me. So that way, if you're spiritually from spiritual legalese, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to continue this pattern. I'm going to cut it off right here. I'm going to have backup just in case, and then I'm going to leave it because I'm not going to go and look, because that's what ends up happening too. We start to see all the injustices because it started to snowball for me, right? And I was conscious of it on the outside looking in. I'm like, wow, no ma'am, because now I'm seeing it everywhere. So now I'm actually becoming the aggressor, right? I'm actually becoming the stalker, right? Because I'm looking for things. I'm looking for more evidence, and making, no, I'm going to go out here. I'm going to walk my babes. I'm going to do my 2 or 3 laps. I'm going to listen to my music. I'm going to say Psalms 91 to cover my space. You know what I mean? Those are things that are healthy, right? Those are positive ingredients that are the materials for building a sturdy bridge into the next season. Dig it? So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And I'm sorry that this went on so long, but hopefully you've gotten something out of it. And if you have, please, consider subscribing. If you're listening to this on Substack, please consider doing the paid, because I have 2 different sections where I'm talking about occult stuff. And then we're reading books, spiritual books from different types of religious practices. So, and that's only $8 a month, or you can sign up, which is more, I would say, because now, like I got Suno for less than $100, and I get 2,500 songs that I can do. I mean, and I never go through it. It rolls over, or they tap you out. You don't get the complete, 2,500 or whatever it is. So, consider doing that. It's more economical for you guys, and $8 isn't a lot, and you can cancel anytime. But it's just, I like to go deeper, right? And it's about being aware of yourself. It can't always be about the narcissist, right? Can't always be about the cluster B, even though it is. Like in my, I just gave you a situation. It is about the leasing agents, all 3 of them, right? And I had some choice words for them. All 3 of them engaging in bullying. They know that they did, right? That was during my birthday. And that's another thing, realizing that sometimes an energy that can come in, and if you are weak in spirit, it will attach to you, and you'll start doing things, and it seems valid, but it's actually that energy that just rolled in, right? So this is why we have to have a spiritual practice of some kind that helps us, that is concrete, right? That produces results. For me, it's Vedic mantras, is clearing my chakra, right? It's because that whatever attachments are there, they got to go. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to try and reattach. And some of them do, but you know what I mean? It's frustrating for them to keep doing it, and keep doing it. Challenge them, make sure that they're not, and actually do a declaration and decree. This is what I do. I say, if you guys keep attaching anyone that has illegally attached themselves to me in my bloodline, I declare and decree that from time to a time, you will, throughout all timelines, realms, and dimensions, you will automatically be siphoning out any type of toxicity or curses or hexes or spells or rituals that have been performed by like-minded, demonic, disembodied spirits that have grafted themselves in. Because that, why not? It's about the power of the tongue. What I say does not return unto me void. So every time, and I've felt the presence leave, because they don't want to take that on. And some of them are in the spirit, and some of them are fragmented their spirits and are watching in a distance with a fleshly body. Do you understand? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I said, Phoenix, it behoove you to go and join my Substack and to take the paid tier, because the information and the discussions that we're gonna have are going to free you from the bondage. They're going to not limit you, right? So anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. It can spiral. You don't know, you know what I mean? Even if you're aware, don't let your don't let your self-righteous anger keep you stuck in a pattern, in a situation that's fleeting, because really it's fleeting. And that's what prompted me to say, to write, to do this. I'm just recording it and I'll upload it later and clean it up. But that's what prompted me to do the audio, to record, was because I'm like, wait a minute. I noticed, I said, it's as if, because that's the nature of toxicity. It's very weak. You're strong. The strength is when it's first being conjured, right? So when you got witches and warlocks and that's why they need everybody else's energy, because they can't do it of themselves. We are standalones. You see, I got a standalone air conditioning. This small unit cools down the whole house. I don't use my central heating and air conditioning unit, even though they upgrade it to being more green, so to speak. Usually when they upgrade it to being more green, it means that you're going to spend more green. And I've noticed that. So, yeah. So yeah, and that's what I was like, oh, okay, so it's changed. It's over and done with. But by that time, and see, that's the thing. The enemy wants us to react. Some reaction is better than no reaction. It doesn't matter what the reaction, whether it's seen as has a positive or negative result. They just want you to react, because they're not, right now, narcissists are crashing out. Flying monkeys are crashing out, right? Because they're not getting fed from the narcissist. It's like them birds, up on the alligators, in an alligator's mouth, and the alligators just, you know what I mean? They're feeding off the crumbs of their master, like Igor. Igor. So yeah. So anyway, sweeties, I hope that this helped. I'm going to get into my meditation now, and just be careful, right? Sit and think. When you get upset about a situation, allow yourself to calm down and write out what happened, and then set it aside. Give yourself at least, my spiritual mom said, and I understand why she said this, we don't make decisions for 72 hours on anything, especially that have to do with our life. We wait up to 72 hours, right? Because the emotion dies down. Whether it be negative or positive, the emotion dies down, right? And so the emotion died down within 72 hours, right? And here it is. I'm like, oh, okay. So, because other people vent too. A lot of us who have been isolated through trauma or whatever, we forget that other people go through things in life, and they don't always feel up, right? They're not always down, but they don't always feel up. They have other things that are pressuring them, and for that spur of the moment, right? Like I said, I know that it was partially a witchcraft attack, because like the Job, it says the devil goes around like a lion, seeking whom that it can devour. So, you have to be careful how you act, because even if it's not your physical enemies, the ones that you see with your two eyes, it's other parasitic spirits that are waiting to get into you and take something from you, right? Or get you down a path, right? Because you start feeling your body all weighed down, and I had experienced that. So anyway, I love you guys, and I just want you to remember that from the ashes we rise, from the soul we lead. This is Coach T, and I love you.